Welcome to the Femme Fatal, a true crime podcast with an astrology twist. I'm your host, Stacey Dotson. Each week, I'll be joined by a guest host because this Femme Fatale prefers not to work alone. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Femme Fatal. This week's Femme Fatale is a little different. Our subjects are usually women whose stories leave us asking, how could someone possibly do the things they did? And while Lyudmila Pavlichenko was responsible for more than 300 deaths, hers is not that kind of story. War changes the way we look at killing, and it certainly changes the way history remembers the person who does it. Lyudmila wasn't feared as a murderer. She was celebrated as a soldier, a defender, and eventually a hero. Unless, of course, you happen to be fighting on the other side, then she was absolutely terrifying. So this episode may be a little less, what the hell were you thinking, and a little more admiration for one incredibly formidable woman. My friend Jen, who's joining us today, picked this one. So Jen, tell us why you picked the woman that they called Lady Death.
Well, I picked Lyudmila because she's not our typical serial killer. She wasn't traumatized, beaten, became a psychopath, started killing. She's not interested in insurance money. She was actually, sanctioned by the Soviet Union to be a professional killer. So her story is a little bit different. And because it was wartime, like you mentioned, this is when the Soviet Union was allowing women into combat positions, finally.
Yeah, I mean, you needed them.
They needed everybody.
They needed everybody. Tell us a little bit about Lyudmila's early life.
So Lyudmila was born Lyudmila Mikhailovna Belova. And the poor Russian pronunciations will continue.
Yes, especially for me.
So she was born on July 12th in 1916. She was born in a small rural town of Belaya Terskov, which literally translates to white church. That falls in line with being in a rural area, right? You're like, oh, there's the big white church. So ta-da, that's where she was born. And so she is known by her married name, which is Lyudmila Pavlichenko. So she got married at the young age of 16, where she fell in love with a gentleman by the name of Alexei. And they did have a son. But typical to our teenage loves, it did not last long. It naturally dissolved.
Right.
So they were only married about 2 years, but she kept his surname. So that's how we know her as Pavlichenko. Now, she did have another love in her life later during the war, and this was with the junior lieutenant Alexei Leonid Kostov.
So 2 Alexeis.
2 Alexeis. How very Soviet Union.
I know. I guess Alexei is the John of Russia.
But what a great name.
Yes.
Alexei.
Yes.
It sounds sexy, right? It's fun to say. So needless to say, since you pointed it out, she called him by his middle name, Leonid. So she called him like Leo for fun.
Oh, okay.
She definitely made it a point. She's like, I will not be calling you Lexi. So she was very forward thinking on that too as a woman, right?
Yes.
You're like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to call you. But he was a junior lieutenant in the Red Army as well and a fellow sniper. So that happened later in her life.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about her life before she joined the military and became a sniper.
Okay. So like we said, she was born in 1916. So the Russian Civil War was coming to an end. That war was declared officially over in 1922. So she was 8 years old when that war was over. So her parents, her father was a locksmith, again, in a small town. And then he became a soldier in the Red Army and was in the Russian Civil War. So because of that, he continued to rank up in the military.
Okay.
Which then eventually allowed them to move to Kiev when she was 14. And that gave them stability. They didn't have to travel that military life anymore. So that was great to have like a home base. And that's very, very common in the militaries.
Yeah, so she was a military child. She was an army brat.
Yeah, she was an army brat. Yeah. And now her mom came from Russian nobility.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So her mom is highly educated, the arts, all the things. And she was an educator as too. And her specialty was foreign languages. That's what she was doing while in Kiev. She had 4 languages, and one of those was English. So, yeah, she had the perfect pairing to become this, world-class sniper, So her parents having these 2 very different backgrounds, she was definitely influenced by her dad being in the Red Army. She would have to know the discipline, the strict discipline, and then also have that heightened intellectual curiosity. So she was always, looking to do things better or, ask the questions and do the things. So yeah, she was quite a deal. And then to top it off, she was also able to go to sniper school while she was at university. And that was a pretty big deal. She was a woman. And then, of course, have the talent to be able to go to this sniper school. So one of the things that they did in sniper school, one of the games they would play was this bottle game. So you get this bottle, it's empty, you go line it up 30 meters away, you lay it on its side, like in a Y branch. So you have this bottle laying here like this, and here's like the open end of the bottle. And then from 30 meters away, you shoot into the bottleneck and blow off the back end.
Wow.
Talk about accuracy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's not like blowing tin cans off the fence like we do in Texas, right? No, this is high end. So she totally impressed her instructor with being able to do that like 3 out of 5 times, just practically day 1. She clearly had an inborn talent for sniping.
Yes.
Whereas others probably, they had to learn all of that. So, and then of course, while she was there, she was learning all the ballistics, how bullets work, how they're spinning, wind, temperature, the weight of your bullet, how all of that's going to affect, your shot.
Right.
And then, of course, surveillance. So like doing the camouflage stuff, which she really enjoyed too. Oh, and the love of her rifle. She had a Taz 8. That was her favorite sniper rifle.
And so this is when she's in college or high school?
Well, because it's different, right? Because we think high school, college, but over there, it's like first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. So while she was at university, this would have been, she was probably 21, 22 when she was at sniper school.
Okay. So she's already been in this marriage and everything.
Yeah, she's already been married, already had a kid. She's going to like regular school. So that's like the high-end sniper school, right? But when she was 14, she joined a shooting club because at the carnival, she shot 12 of the 15 targets.
Oh, wow.
She felt so bad for the carnival guy that she gave all the prizes back. Because he was like, beep, 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 beep. So that guy from the carnival, I'm sure he wasn't just your average Joe Schmo. I mean, he definitely, I would imagine, let the club, like, you need to get in this club. So then she's in this little club at 14. She's around her 20s. She's in sniping school. Like, she's, going up.
Going up the ranks. Yep.
I don't really talk about like the whole woman thing, but she's a woman doing all of this. So, eyes are on her and the things are happening, being bullied and made fun of, being hit on and
all the things.
All the things that come with breasts.
Yeah.
So not only during university, which I'm kind of guessing is more like all of your schooling. So she's also a really good athlete. So not only is she really super smart, she's really super athletic. And she is a pole vaulter. She's a sprinter.
Wow.
And she's little. I don't even think she's 5 feet tall.
Wow.
So she's this tiny little thing, just, again, when we talk about sniping, how she holds her gun and a shoulder and she's little, like she's like her own like rifle stand, like she's really one, with her gun.
Yeah.
So again, like super important that she and her rifle do have a relationship and she knows how all that works. But the other thing too, the other thing that she's still doing too, which starts at 14 when they move to Kiev, is she's working at the local armory.
My God.
So she's working at the armory during the day where she held multiple positions. So she was like a grinder, and then she's doing the weaving, and then she's working in different departments. So she's learning not only different munitions, but she's learning every little bit and piece about how guns and artillery works.
All the nuances, yeah.
On top of, and then as they're developing new weapons too. So she's in it. She's built for this.
Yes, she is. I was about to say, like, we know where this is going. You can predict where she's going to go.
She has no choice. She was designed for being a world-class sniper. So yeah, she goes to school at night. She works at the armory during the day. And that's like extra money. So she can go to the theater and maybe, buy lace and stuff. And then meanwhile, her mother is raising her son.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, she's pretty badass. It's exhausting.
What time frame is that? What's happening with the war?
Americans aren't involved yet. So in 1941, she's a year from graduating. She would graduate 41, 42, and she'd be finished with her 5th year. And then she would be out and become like either an educator or a historian or, whatever kind of educational thing that women do.
Yeah.
But instead, the Germans invade. And they invade harshly. So in 1941, when they invade, there's just so much loss of life and just catastrophic, like just really changes the Red Army as they previously knew it because they're losing, and it's awful.
Yeah.
So instead of going to the university, which eventually is blown up by the Germans, she just heads to the recruiting office and answers her call of duty. And she knows that she has to be there. Like we said, she has all the credentials, all the things she needed to join, and not just join, but really be effective.
When she first joined, how did that go?
She was rushed to the front lines. Thank you for joining. You are going. But yeah, she had to do her lump, so to speak. They didn't have enough rifles for anyone because of, they're getting their asses kicked. So she didn't even have a rifle in the beginning. She had to dig trenches and, do manual labor until a rifle became available. And the way a rifle became available was that someone died. Someone was killed.
Yeah. Fallen soldier.
So that's how she got her first rifle. That's how that started. So during her time as the sniper, she got her 309 kills.
That is crazy number.
Big number. So she was really able to put her skills to use in this war. So this is frontline stuff. So she has 309 kills. Chris Klein here in America has 168. So that tells you where she is in the ranks, and we think he's a big deal. So
yeah,
she was pretty kick-ass. She was famously quoted as having the balls of a man. She was in it to win it.
Yeah.
Obviously hated the fascists. She had multiple opportunities to see, they called them the Klauses, the Germans, like what they did to her people.
Yeah.
It's just horrific. And we don't have to go into all of that because I feel like that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
The atrocities of the Nazis. We know what they are.
Tell us a little bit about what happened on the front line.
So she participated in 2 battles, right? So she's at the Siege of Odessa, and this is where she gets her 187 kills.
Okay, there, wow.
Yeah, 187 right off the bat. And that was only 2 months. So in 2 months, 187. Big deal. So again, she's just picking them off.
Yeah.
And then later is the Battle of Sevastopol. That takes longer, and that's where she gets her 122 kills.
Yeah.
And then 36 of those kills were snipers. But the not awesome thing that happens during the Battle of Sevastopol is they lose. They have to retreat.
Yes.
They get their booty kicked. And that's where she gets her final wound, her critical wound, if you will. And she's able to actually get to the retreat, like her being injured. And then the love of her life, Leonor, the other junior lieutenant.
Yeah.
They had declared their love for each other and filed paperwork to get married, but he was killed 2 days later in this battle, and he died by shielding her body.
Oh, wow.
But she made it to the evacuation, so at least she got out of Sevastopol, right? So that's a big deal too, because how many people had to be left behind?
Right.
Because of her success with all the kills, the Germans knew who she was. And this is where they would shout out at her. They're taunting her even.
Yeah.
So the Germans are afraid of her because she's just picking the Fritzes off. So they'd say things like, come to our side and we'll give you chocolate and we'll make you an officer and all this stuff. And we're going to cut you in 309 pieces. And she's like, oh, the Germans do know who I am. And they have an accurate kill count.
Wow.
So there's some prestige in that.
How does that work? How does the accurate kill count work?
So the accurate kill count works is that you have to have a witness. Like you have to have another soldier that witnesses you doing this kill. So in battle, like, do you really think you're going to get every kill is going to be witnessed by someone else? Plus you're a sniper. You're out there all by yourself. So you come back to camp. And they did. Like she kept a journal because she wanted to kill 1,000 fascists before the war was over.
That was her goal?
That was her goal. Her goal was 1,000. So she was out there to get them.
Before the second Alexei was killed, wasn't there a time where she almost died?
Yeah, she had shrapnel all the time. Like her shoulder was jacked. But every time she got injured, she would, patch me up and send me back. So really, when we talk about the tree, that happened early. That was the siege of Odessa. So that's her first,
Okay, that was in the first one. Okay.
That was in the first one. Yeah, so she's there with her sniper and, the sniper shooting at her in a tree. So her cover is blown. So on purpose, she falls out of the tree, plays dead, plays possum. So she's in the ground.
Yeah.
Covered with leaves and other dead soldiers because it's a killing. At nighttime, she sneaks back off to her camp. And that's when they see her where, her fellow officers see her and they're looking at her. And they're like, oh my God, she's a ghost. They're like, that can't be her because she's clearly dead. Everyone's dead.
Yeah.
And that's actually where she got her name, Lady Death, is because they thought they saw a ghost.
Oh, that's awesome.
So not only was she Lady Death, but it was like, yeah, they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she survived that.
God, she's incredible.
She's pretty badass.
I mean, you think about it being tiny. It's like she was probably able to hide way better than the Russian soldiers.
Yeah, and then maybe they would be looking for bigger bodies, right? You're looking for man soldiers. There's this tiny little thing hiding behind a trunk of a tree or something. They don't even look.
Okay, so you said, after she lost the love of her life, she was also injured. What happened?
So that was the Battle of Sevastopol that they were losing. Mortar, shrapnel, all the things, pain, whatever went through Alexei, whatever she was protected through. But after that, then she was pulled out and brought back to Kiev. That leads to her next journey.
Yeah.
So for her, the front lines are over. She's not returning. That's not going to happen. Not happy about it, but the Soviets have plans for her.
It's not just like, okay, you're dismissed.
Right? You don't get to retire. Like, they're still at war. There's a job for you somewhere.
So what's that job?
Because of the disaster of Sevastopol, she now becomes part of the International Student Assembly. So now they're going to use her for propaganda. And they're going to try to get other countries into World War II. They need help.
Yeah, they're losing.
We're losing. We can't be the only ones fighting the Nazis. So they prop her up and send her to beloved America. But they don't only go to America, they go to other countries as well, simply like trying to get money and involvement in those things. So they really use her for that.
Right.
When she comes to America, she's greeted by Roosevelt and his wife, Eleanor. And she is the first Soviet citizen to be welcomed into the White House.
That's amazing.
And of course, she and Eleanor really get along. There's a definite connection when they meet.
Yeah, they become friends. Yeah.
Yeah, they're buddies. They're going to be pen pals, all these other things. Well, Luda's on her world tour which she didn't know about. She thought she'd be here for like a week and be like, hey, come help us, and then get the hell out.
But it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. It turned into 4 months. So they were just really impressed with her. And then she was with a fellow sniper too. So yeah, they would come and talk to the public.
Did they travel?
They traveled all over the U.S. And again, this is where her relationship with Eleanor is really, because Eleanor, I'm sure, is the one that's behind this, pushing this, like, we've got to get this gal in front of the TV. And Eleanor obviously recognizes how well educated she is. She also sees how injured she is. Eleanor invites them to their private estate, Hyde Park. So she gets to hang out there and, really see, how American nobility would live, I guess you could say. So again, it's right there in her DNA, ready to go. She can hold her own in all of this. And Eleanor's there to show her the way. So she's coaching her as she's on her world tour, so to speak. And a safe place for her to speak her mind. Because what would be typical during that time is, the government was involved with everything. So anything that Luda spoke out loud had to be, approved. But she went off script in Chicago in a very famous fashion. She's, doing her thing, talking to the people. And she says to a crowd of men, I am 25 years old, gentlemen. I am at the front lines. I have killed 309 fascists, soldiers, officers. So, gentlemen, don't you think that you have been hiding too long behind my back?
That's amazing.
So it's like she's calling them out. And then this is happening through a translator. So, it's like silence. And then the translator, she didn't know what was happening. It was so quiet. It was like dead silent. And then it was just roars. And it's such a big deal. Like it hits all the front pages in the US.
I bet.
And then typical, like as she's going around, American journalists doing what they do, they're asking stupid stuff.
Like
is
what?
your skirt too long? Is your skirt
God.
too short? What kind of lipstick do you wear? And this one guy asked her, like, what color silk panties does she wear?
Who asked that?
I don't know. I'm sure it's in the records, but
A reporter?
a reporter. Yeah. And she was like, what? You would be slapped to ask a completely inappropriate question.
Yeah.
It was something to the effect of, the only person that needs to know the color would be your husband or your lover.
That's inappropriate. Yes.
Why would you ask a Soviet soldier? So the patriarchy was alive and well still in America back in 1943.
So we joined, obviously Pearl Harbor was the biggest factor, but she really was, instrumental in opening our eyes.
Yeah. Like you said, we hadn't joined yet. So she was getting money and doing what she was supposed to help her people. And then, of course, she's a female face and she's Soviet. Like, yeah, she was a big deal. But then because of, her world tour and that sort of thing, when she got back, home after they were finished with their part of the war, 44, 45, she was able to go back to university and she finally completed her 5th year.
Oh, that's good.
She did get to graduate, but she was the only woman and she was the oldest. She was 28 when she finished her 5th year.
Wow.
So again, she's still knocking off all the barriers, right? It's like, check, check, check.
So what did she do after?
She became a researcher for the Navy. And then that's what she did for the rest of her years. Now, I didn't get into, what she did later, but things got weird after World War II because then we're talking like communism, the philosophies were changing. So some people might not consider her a hero, but the reality was that she was at that time for sure. But she was able to complete, had a job, all that. And I believe it was said that she did get married again, but she also, because of her story, more women were allowed to become snipers. Then there became an all-female sniper school.
Oh, wow.
So they had their own thing going on. She was behind that. And then after the war, she was involved. Like they had sniping contests and, marksmanship contests. They have medals named after her. She was able to finally visit her true love's grave because she never saw him after he was killed. And so she did go back and where he is buried. And, that was like in 1970, So it took a while for her to, truly say goodbye to him.
Wow.
Then she would be honored with things. But of course, that didn't happen until after the war. The war had to settle down before she started getting her medals. And she got her first stamp in 1946.
Oh, she was on a postage stamp?
She was on a postage stamp, right? She got another one in 1976 after her own death. And like any soldiers in military that see war, she suffered. And at that time, they called it post-trauma neuroses.
So it's PTSD.
Yeah, she was an alcoholic, and she's Russian, so vodka was her drink of choice, and that's how she passed. She had a stroke.
At that time, Russia didn't have any programs, right, to treat post-traumatic neurosis? I read somewhere that they thought any kind of rehabilitation programs were like voodoo science or something like that.
Yeah, that would make sense. No, because they're just these strong soldiers, strong Soviet people. You don't show weakness of what PTSD looks like, So I think about that with her being a researcher. She was a nice, quiet, chill, doing her history things, writing her notes, and then reports, checks, balances, because like the Soviets and everything that you do. So yeah, she was, writing, writing and trying to stay alive.
How old was she when she passed? She was pretty young still.
She was 58 and she suffered a stroke that was due to her alcoholism.
Poor thing. Probably a lot of a broken heart too, and just all the stuff she went through.
Yeah, the life that she led. And you can see it in the pictures, too. Like when you see photos of her as a young woman with her rifle and stuff, little, petite, young, 20s, do. And then after the war and even after her tour in America. And then, too, the life of a sniper. She's out there for 12 to 15 hours when you're doing a snipe. I forgot to tell you about an important sniping situation. She had a 3-day duel with a fellow sniper. So that was not uncommon. That's one sniper against another. And those would be 15 to 16 hours. But this one was 3 days long. So she never left her post for 3 days.
3 days. Wow.
Of not moving. Like, you have to be in the best physical condition to do that for 3 days. So
no food or drink or anything.
Yeah, you can't leave. I mean, you can't like shuffle away. You can't move. I think he's like behind a rock. She might be behind a rock or a hill, and you can't have any movement that will set off where your position is. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And then, of course, like you said, like, not having anything to eat or drink, but a regular sniping duel will be 12 to 15 hours.
3 days. That's crazy.
So, yeah, there was definitely the physical toll of her being a soldier. And then, of course, the mental toll.
Well, she was extraordinary. Like, there's no other words. And I'm so glad you picked her because, I always get to do my research and I didn't really know anything about her. So when I started researching her, I didn't know what to expect. But I ended up getting a song by Woody Guthrie, a friendship with Eleanor Roosevelt, and a connection to Call of Duty.
Right. Luda definitely answered her Call of Duty.
Yes, Call of Duty.
So much so, she's still part of Americana. She's still part of world history, right? In today's version. Pew, 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 pew.
So let's start with the song. In 1942, Lyudmila traveled to the U.S. as part of the Soviet Goodwill Tour, and Americans were fascinated by her, as you've already said. And so was Woody Guthrie. Back in an episode I did, Isla Cook, he wrote a song about her too. And it turns out that his wife that he was married to at the time during World War II, her mother was Yiddish. So he was very disturbed and, it was a personal, this has got to end type situation for him. And so, of course, he was so inspired, he wrote a song about her called Miss Pavlichenko. And I listened to it on Spotify. It's, of course, folky and it's got some good lyrics. But she also met, as you just said, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, and they genuinely connected. And obviously an unlikely friendship. One was a young Soviet soldier and who had spent their life on the battlefield, basically, and the other was the First Lady of the United States. And they just saw each other this is going to become important later when I do the astrology part. So just remember about their beautiful friendship. And so I found a movie called The Battle for Sevastopol. And it isn't just that battle that you talked about. It's about kind of like her life. And I really, really liked it. I found it on Prime. I know you'd mentioned you had a different take on it, right?
Yeah, because I listened to her memoir, which is where the movie comes from, too. According to her book, yeah, it was pretty accurate. It was the last battle that she saw. But also the love stories were changed up a bit. There wasn't that creepy doctor guy that kept popping up.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to ask, that's why I'm glad you watched it too and you listened to the memoirs.
I was like, who's this guy? Like, what? What's he doing? And I think something I didn't mention was while she was on her tour here in America, the creepy guy would actually be this American millionaire who I think he was in textiles and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He actually was the creepy guy. Eleanor had to get involved.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Which creepy guy in the movie?
Her real life.
Real life creepy guy.
Her real life creepy guy was
so she kind of had a little bit of a stalker situation going on.
Yeah, she had a little bit of a stalker because, again, typical American businessman with a bunch of money was like, let me buy this little Russian hero gal. And she, of course, would have no part of it. But yeah, he tried to ask her to marry him, and Eleanor was like,
no.
And then Eleanor asked her, like, why wouldn't you? You would be taken care of for the rest of your life. And she's like, my people are dying. Like,
yeah, no, I'm not here for that.
Like, you guys are still not getting, you're so close. So yeah, she did have her own American stalker, not that guy in the movie.
Well, okay, really quick, I'm going to wrap up the movie and then move on to some other things. But, obviously I was expecting it to be just a war movie, but it's a lot more than that. It's personal and love life. And it was not a Hollywood production. It was a joint Ukrainian-Russian project that began before relations between those two countries dramatically deteriorated. And Lyudmila was part of the shared Soviet history of both countries, and so both countries considered her a hero. While that movie was being made, history intervened. Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, and some filming had already taken place in Crimea, including Sevastopol and Balaklava, and production ultimately continued in other locations. So you have a Ukrainian-Russian production telling the story of a woman who fought at Sevastopol during World War II, while a new conflict involving Russia, Ukraine, and Crimea was unfolding around the filmmakers, and that's just incredible timing.
And it makes so much sense for how they're built over there. They're built for war. Every little country is going to war with someone. And really, I would imagine it's landowners, farmers, and such that are just trying to live their lives. And then they have to get involved. And it makes sense that in 2015, it was like Russia annexed. And you're like, it's not like here in the States when you like draw a line, have a city council meeting and annex.
Gerrymandering is what we call it in Texas.
Yeah. Over there, it's like people are dying. Like it's totally different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shoot, it's going on now, So another thing, obviously, was the memoir that you brought up. So, yeah, if you want her without the Hollywood or technically without the Ukrainian-Russian movie treatment, you can actually read her story in her own words. Her memoir is available in English as Lady Death, the Memoir of Stalin's Sniper.
Yeah, Stalin's Sniper.
And if you'd rather have historical fiction, which is interesting, I want to read this one, The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. It was inspired by Lyudmila's life, and it's not a biography. It's just an example of how her story can be retold. So she's in Call of Duty Vanguard. Technically, it's not her. They call the sniper Polina Petrova, but they said it's mainly inspired by her and other female snipers because they became accepted, like you said, in Russia. Anyway, so now I want to get back into something I mentioned earlier, Eleanor Roosevelt. Because when I pulled Lyudmila's birth chart, their friendship became even more interesting to me. So I'm going to jump into the astrology now.
Yeah, for sure.
So Lyudmila Pavlichenko was born July 12, 1916, making her a Cancer sun. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a recorded birth time, so We don't know her rising sign or exact house placements, but we can still look at her sun, moon, and Mars, which is what we're going to do. And obviously, my disclaimer as always, astrology doesn't make someone a hero, a soldier, or a killer. Millions of people have these placements and they're living different lives. Okay, but let's go back to her. So let's start with Cancer Sun. Cancer is often described as emotional and nurturing. This is the sign associated with home, family, roots, and the instinct to protect what belongs to you. And considering everything we've just talked about, I don't think I have to work very hard to make that connection, right? Lyudmila saw herself as defending her homeland. And Cancer isn't actually the placement that fascinates me the most in her chart. That would be her moon in Sagittarius. The moon represents our emotional world, our instincts, and what motivates us deep down. Sagittarius is associated with beliefs, philosophy, conviction, and the search for something bigger than yourself. And this is where Lyudmila caught my attention. When she talked about what she'd done during the war, she didn't frame it around killing individual people. She talked about fighting fascism. And it's an important distinction in the way she understood her own actions. In her mind, she wasn't simply taking lives. She was fighting an ideology and defending her country. Yeah, and that's fascinating to me because Sagittarius moon wants to know, what do I believe in? What does this mean? What is the bigger purpose? These are questions that they ask themselves. For someone living through the realities Lyudmila experienced, that conviction may have helped her make sense of what she was being asked to do. And then she has her Mars in Virgo. If we're making up an astrology chart for one of the greatest snipers in history, you might give her a Mars in Virgo. So Mars represents how we act. It's our drive, our aggression, our physical energy, and the way we go after something. And Virgo is meticulous, patient, observant, methodical, precise. It notices what everybody else misses. Now think about what a sniper actually does. They're waiting, watching, calculating distance and movement, controlling their breathing, and studying their surroundings. And you may be sitting completely still for an incredibly long time and waiting for the exact right moment. And that's not impulsive Mars energy. And Mars energy is typically impulsive and aggressive. So that Mars in Virgo calms it down. And Virgo also refines things through repetition, practices, studying, and adjusts. And it gives a little better and better until the skill becomes almost automatic. And you mentioned earlier she learned things and studied and made, she became better at everything. She didn't become successful because she was reckless. She became successful because she mastered an extraordinarily technical skill.
There you go. She was a master.
Yeah, she was a master. So let's get to Eleanor Roosevelt, because this is where it gets fun. Remember, Lyudmila is a Cancer sun, and Eleanor has a Cancer moon. Cancer's the sign of protection and compassion, and these two women expressed it in completely different ways. Lyudmila expressed it through physically defending her homeland. Eleanor expressed it through humanitarian work and advocating for people who don't always have a voice of their own. And then it gets even better. Lyudmila had a Sagittarius moon. Eleanor had a Sagittarius rising. We have her exact birth time, so we do know her ascendant. And so remember, I just said Sagittarius represents beliefs, ideals, purpose, and something bigger than yourself. So one woman carried those ideas onto the battlefield. The other carried them into diplomacy and eventually into her work, helping shape the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. One fought with the rifle, the other fought with words. Different battlefields, but perhaps not entirely different missions. And suddenly, that unlikely friendship doesn't feel so unlikely to me. So when I put Lyudmila's chart together, these are the three placements I keep coming back to. A Cancer sun with the instinct to protect home, a Sagittarius moon that needed to believe there was a greater purpose behind what she was doing, and Mars in Virgo giving us patience, discipline, and incredible precision. Astrology didn't make Lyudmila a sniper, but whether you believe in astrology or simply just enjoy using it as another lens through which to look at history like I do, these three placements tell a pretty fascinating story about the woman the world came to know as Lady Death.
That's fascinating when you brought up the fact that you did Eleanor's chart too.
I mean, we had to.
Their relationship just magical.
It almost was meant to be.
It was like the stars aligned.
And you mentioned, or you told me, right, that Eleanor visited Russia.
Yeah, she went back in 1956, 57. And again, that was kind of a big deal. Eleanor, not the first lady anymore. And, the tides were changing with our relationship again.
Yes.
But Eleanor definitely made sure that she got to see Luda again.
That's good. I'm glad. Thanks, Jen. This was fun, more like empowering than, oh my God, she's the worst, right?
She's the best. She's the
309 kills. That's a lot of kills.
And a woman did it.
And a woman did it. There you go. Thank you so much. Good seeing you.
This has been a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
The Femme Fatal, created and hosted by Stacey Dotson, produced by Mark Williams. Music by Marcia Yingling, Chad Shank, and Greg Loicano.